Shanghai restaurant in Osaka in Yodogawa, and I'm gonna do this podcast here over dinner with my guest is Kevin Lacasse from Canada.
Yes, Quebec.
From Quebec, Canada, and I actually initially met him online through Facebook. He was asking about using computers and future learning and all this stuff, and I messaged him back like, yeah, I do some of my class, check this out and everything, and he was looking up today at a mini conference that we did with JALT, School Owner SIG, and he was one of the mini presenters. He had a quick 15-minute presentation on the future of learning, the future of schools, and I could tell it was like way too much information for that audience. Because we're looking, he's looking deep into the future, or really, it's not even that far in the future. He predicted it was like 2040. But it's a lot of the stuff that like I've been doing in my classroom and stuff that I believe in, and I try to explain to parents and teachers, and I think it's just too far ahead for them to
Realize.
wrap their brain around. Without further ado, here's my guest, Kevin Class. Welcome.
Hi.
And
Glad to be here.
And I like to start off with just basically is what I call before Japan. So
Before Japan, yeah.
How long have you? I've been here. This is my 10th year. Starting. And how long have you been here?
5 years.
Okay. So
5.5.
What were you doing before Japan, and now that you've stayed 5 years, what has kept you?
Well, I wasn't doing much, meaning that I was still a student. And then I started traveling. I went a little bit in Asia.
What did you study when you were a student?
Liberal arts.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't any particular major. Liberal arts is just, everything at the same time. I even had my focus mostly in drama more than anything else. So why drama? Because I wanted to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But the part of acting that really interested me the most was actually learning. So that's very interesting, the connection now that I have.
Learning how to express yourself, learning how to
The world, to understand psychology about the human being, and to learn about the world, to get to travel a little bit, and if I had the occasion, and I did. So that was my motivation.
So, and where did you travel to besides Japan?
Well, I did turn around. I went around the Pacific Ocean, basically Australia, Malaysia, then China, Hong Kong, and Macau, and then ended up in Japan. So Hawaii as well.
Wow. I mean, no France? No.
No. I was on my own.
Have you been to Europe at all?
No.
Interesting.
No Europe. Why? I don't know. Maybe actually I got stung by the Asian interest when I went to Vancouver.
Lots of Asians in Vancouver.
That's right. Actually, I didn't have a passport back then, and I wanted to have a different experience in Canada. So how could I experience that? Well, I went to Vancouver because
just go to the other side.
The other side, and I knew there were lots of Asians, and I met a Japanese guy, and was very friendly, and I was like, hey, cool, this is all brand new, and all my share mates were also Asians. One was from China, another was from Vietnam. It was so mind-blowing.
What, I guess, tell me a little bit of stories about your experience, of what is it like that they opened up for you? I'm sure food, I'm sure,
it's a big city.
All kinds of stuff that you just you couldn't get, because there are Asians in Quebec. I have cousins, Vietnamese cousins, but it's not as big as a population.
No, I'm sorry, because Quebec is just a very small population. It's 200,000 people. We're not talking about Montreal size. Montreal is way bigger, but Quebec is way smaller. So I didn't get any experience.
Okay, so then is it? It's obviously it's not a monoculture as we say in America, but I guess can you reflect on it? Oh, it is. I'm just because I guess how is it like growing up? It's a bilingual, whatever that is. What is that growing up? Not just like I grew up bilingual, but in a dominant American society, and then spoke Vietnamese at home. But you've got laws where things have to be in 2 languages, and there's a real bilingual culture there too. A certain extent. So can you touch based on that a little bit. Growing up, with two languages.
You know what? There's a lot I could talk about regarding that because
Mhm.
Quebec is such a deep society. It's just so it's a bicultural area, but at the same time, it's not. It's monolingual. It's monocultural,
Hmm.
and it's very difficult to navigate around.
Like you're
How to explain?
Quebecois or you're not?
I'm
Whatever.
Quebecois or I'm not. Well,
Because you
you,
even
you can
separate yourself from the rest of the Canadians too.
you can be Quebecois and still be Anglophone,
Uh huh.
but there are many areas
And then are you looked
you can be
are
in
you
which
looked
camp
down
you are.
upon? Are you looked down? Because I'm always interested in subcultures of cultures, and I mean what so
It's
say
all that
please do.
like in Okinawa, for example, a lot of people recognize
I
themselves as
understand.
half Japanese, not
I
really
understand
Japanese,
what
but
you mean. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a big part of that in Quebec. Although there's something even stronger in Quebec, since France was one of the greatest part of the world
Hmm.
in the 16th century.
Hmm.
So it, we still are trying to get rid of that dominance because we are better.
Oh,
That
so that
feeling
that
is that
that that 16th century dominance is still thriving in the hearts and minds of some Quebecois more so than the modern French
exactly
now.
because it's still
Interesting.
existing.
Oh
It's
wow.
still existing. There's that fight between, you know, between France and England. It's been always a fight between those two
Hmm.
cultures.
Hmm.
There's been an invasion of England by the French. There's been an
Hmm.
invasion of the English in France, and all over the world. One of the biggest wars was the 7 Years' War, and it's
Hmm.
England that. You know about that?
Well,
I don't know many people who know about it, but that was the first World War, historically speaking.
yeah, it's interesting because to connect with teaching English in Japan, but as
We're
I
quite far from there.
but when
I knew it.
when I was in ALT and everything like that, because I was in ALT in Japan, I had to it forced me to study English and the history of English, and it was even more deeply because the Japanese teachers they would ask me why do you say this? Why do you spell like this? And I would have to say it's oh well, you know what? That's originally you can tell that's a French spelling, and that's just well, that's because the Normans
Right.
and and for me it's oh that's the cool thing about language and history and stuff where if you look at the etymology of words, it tells the history of it.
Yeah.
And just having to explain to people because for Japanese they just think is English is just English, whatever that is, and have to explain them no, modern English we know now is derived from many other languages,
Many languages. Right.
many languages, and so it's just kind of interesting with the you're talking about that French English rivalry is very or pride, what do you want to call it, is
Rivalry. Yeah. Rivalry.
is thriving in in Quebec. But anyway,
It's even stronger because we had movements.
so then you're like, I gotta get out of this.
Sure.
And then
Sure. Please. Do.
so you go to Vancouver, and then
Yeah.
what do you experience? What did they open up to you?
Well, first of all, it was my first experience with a big city, so there were a lot of people. Actually, the mass transportation was the most striking. And then there were people with technology, computers and laptops and iPods. That was my first experience with an iPod. And I bought my first iPod in Vancouver. I was using it. I was like, wow, this is so good. And this guy who was Asian, who was from Montreal, as a matter of fact, but I was just from a little town, Quebec City, so I didn't have this kind of experience. But this guy from Montreal, he introduced me to some trance music, and which was the new generation.
Asian guy,
Asian guy.
Asian Canadian, or is he a student, or because
He was
yeah,
a Quebecois.
the
A Quebecois, so he spoke French and English and Chinese. So he was a computer scientist, something like that.
Wait, so he's a Quebecois, but you didn't meet him until Vancouver.
I met him in Vancouver.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So. So, anyways, that iPod which I brought back home afterwards. I bought my first laptop afterwards, and I started being this kind of awkward guy with the earbuds and not listening to people, kind of feeling. But that was normal in Vancouver. So that was the start of a new era. And I guess it just kept on moving my desires towards that. Not on the first level, but on the background level.
Yeah, they got you. That was the jumping off point to like, okay, these people seem interesting. Let's go see what the real. Let's go even farther west. You know, to the east.
One day, I didn't have any plans for that.
Oh, really?
No, not yet. I had some plans after I went to Australia.
Okay.
So Australia was the second time, the second immersion in an Asian. Wait, I'm talking about Australia and Asian at the same time.
Yeah.
That's right. Because when I was
always have
This is the mabudoku.
it's very special.
Do you want some rice with this, or you eat it straight? Okay. Yeah.
So I got many travelers on my way because I was on a working holiday visa, which is the quick visa you can get for work and travel at the same time. So I stayed in Australia for that visa for a period of 1 year. And I met many people that were coming from Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Korea, particularly.
Because of, again,
Because I was just like them.
Uh-huh.
So, of course, there were other travelers from England and Ireland, all over Europe, and of course not America because they don't have the working holiday visa. But I did have that working holiday visa, and so I was part of that gang, that working holiday gang.
And then you gravitated more to the Asian working homes.
Right, right.
Why was that? I mean, because, you would seem like, whatever the interest is, but like just language, because you didn't speak any Chinese or Japanese or anything.
I was curious.
You're just curious. Yeah, curious.
Curiosity brought me into this. As I said, I wanted to study cultures. So the American culture.
It's still Western culture. Yeah,
it's still Western.
Australia is still Western. Yeah.
So that's what I know, but I wanted to dig deeper into what another culture is. So that was the second time I was into it. And yeah, that completely changed my life. I met very important people that would make me move around that decision.
Important how?
Yeah, my girlfriend.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. That's. Look, I was, I was a teacher in Los Angeles, and I was just like, what do you? I talk a little bit, but I was going to be in Japan for a year. So I taught for like 10 years. I just got burned out with my life in general at the time. And, the American economy and stuff like that. It was just it was just like, 1 year. But at the end of that year, I met my wife. I don't have to be my wife yet. But, and then, then I had a kid, and then a business, and then, it's just like, okay, I guess I realized, like, I'm not going back. I'm going to have a Japanese life. I mean, it's forever. Even if I separate from my kid, I have to find a way for her to, retain her culture. That means I'm connected to Japan, the rest of my life now. And that wasn't my intention. I always had an interest, in Japanese cinema and food and all that stuff. But, it was just like, not really a big plan to stay here for 10 years. It was just like, well, just going to be, 1 year and then go back, and I wanted to go explore the rest of it. I was going to go teach, English in Vietnam, and, just kind of like, I'll just do that for like 4 or 5 years, teaching English in the Asian circuit to experience as much as I can. But, things change. So,
yeah, me too. Things change. I wanted to teach in China first.
Okay, so tell me about that. So you were in China?
No, I wasn't. Actually, I was in Australia, and I was thinking about my future. What am I going to do? So I've got a bachelor's degree in liberal arts. What can I do with that? Oh, teaching sounds interesting. So I'm gonna apply for a job in China. So I was
What year is this?
sorry,
What year was this? I'm just wondering what time.
2012.
Come on.
2012, I was looking for a job in China, preparing myself for a trip in Southeast Asia, and yeah, so I learned about all this culture from Japan, all these guys I met, and in preparation for a trip to Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a whole lot of things at that time, and I was getting myself ready for the future in China. But I ended up in Japan because of my girlfriend.
Was
Again,
she Japanese?
yes.
Okay.
I know it's hard to follow.
No, I wasn't because I wasn't sure. We didn't know her then. It's like I don't know. She could have been Australian. She could have been Chinese in Australia, and then and then end up saying you just
Just
you never
Japanese.
you never know. You never know.
So we moved together,
Mm-hmm.
and I started teaching in English, in
For like
Japan.
for a company, and like that's how I started was a dispatch company. So just to be 1 year with biggest dispatch company and everything.
Well, I knew I wanted the future in Japan. At that point, I knew I wanted the future.
Because of her. Okay,
Because
that's
of
a big
everything,
Oh.
because of my studies, because of her, because everything just aligned itself. Because if I wanted to teach English back home, it would have been very different. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to learn about cultures, about people, going back to Asia, being so close to visiting Taiwan and other countries I was interested in.
Yeah, it would have been a reasonable, stable career move for you because you're from Canada. You can get that job. You have connections. You can do the interview. All that stuff. But you weren't just interested in a career. You wanted these other, how do you say, non-monetary, non-career stuff, or plus that it was like the cultural exploration because of that. I mean, probably for me was I always wanted to be an expat. From the U.S. And also, my interest in Japan was just like, wow, it's just so different. I mean, from what stuff I've read, movies, so I just knew, like, I always told my friends, like, man, that is the closest thing we got to an alien planet. Because it's just such a different culture.
It is.
Especially, my friends asked me my experience here, like, they're like, do they think do they think you're Japanese? It's like, yeah, I mean, as long as I don't open my mouth, and I know how to I know how to behave, in on the subway and on the bus. But once I give myself away, but that's just it. Is like my foreign experience is different than yours because I'm not an obvious foreigner. I have to a certain extent, the choice to be perceived as a foreigner or not, and everything. But I was just like, yeah, I am like, I feel like I am like an alien that got put down on this in this country, this world. Like, it's just like, in secret, they don't know until I, shapeshift and like give myself away by the way I talk, because I've seen behavior change from basically the moment like I open my mouth. I can see it's like, and so I'm really blessed with that. That it's like, oh yeah, I can watch their human behavior in their natural habitat. Thank you. This is really simple, really good. Whereas you walk in, they already like change their behavior and everything. So I get to see different side of Japan and everything. But
Yeah.
That's why it was just like, oh, I just wanted to be so different than
I get the
American
annoying
culture.
part, I guess.
Well, okay. Let's talk about that. You get the good. You get a lot of good stuff. Come on. Okay,
I do.
So
That's true.
so. All right. Beautiful. This is the So let's talk about that then culturally. It's just like, okay, so let's hear the annoying part, because the grass is always greener. I'm always like, oh, these Caucasian foreigners, they get all the goods, they get all the good stuff and everything, whereas, I feel like I don't, but I get other good stuff, which is fine.
It's true. You do get some other good stuff, and I do get some.
So what's your like top three then annoying thing?
And it's not just myself, but whenever I go somewhere now, it's just, oh, I gotta speak in English. So I can't even have a talk in Japanese. And as soon as there's a miscommunication, you know, there's tons of people who may not be able to understand you for whatever reason, and they automatically try to look for some English word, and they're like, it's annoying because, well, at the same time,
you really want to do it.
I want to be Japanese, you know, I want to be part of this country.
さっきの日本語はパッと見たやつ。あなたの日本語は大丈夫ですか?
私の日本語は大丈夫だと思いますけど。
Okay, you're already better than me. I can already tell. You're already way better than me because I've gotten away with.
You got an
Well,
accent.
I haven't studied for one because I'm teaching. I'm speaking.
I haven't either.
But you know, I can already tell you're better than me. I'm still using pretty much. I just talk in like English grammar structure and just replace it with my limited vocabulary. You know, I mean, my wife gives me a hard time, and on the one hand, yeah, it's kind of as me as an educator, I'm just like, no, I let them figure it out. I let them fill in the gaps. You know, I do my best to like, you switch it around and get my intention and everything. But now because my daughter's 6 and she is way better than me and she's hilarious. I mean, she's good. I have her teaching me. But yeah, I understand even when you try
I
to.
think Japanese is still important as an English teacher.
Oh yeah. I definitely think so.
For example, I'm going to talk to not just students in Japanese, but customers, and it's really a heartwarming feeling to get a konnichiwa at the right place. You know, they're human, and you need to connect with them as well. So when you speak in their own language, even if it's just konnichiwa, that really helps warm them up.
This mushroom was amazing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I gotta say, growing up with it, I was like, I have to give respect here. Like, it really like soaked up the flavor of this sauce, and yeah, this dope was amazing too. I gotta say because you know what it's like eating Japanese food, and they always have to change it, and you know. But I know this was because it was mostly Chinese that were eating in here, and I actually told them, make it like Shanghai style. You know, don't mill it down for the Japanese stuff. So,
By the way,
yeah.
I prefer Chinese food. Than
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. That's
I won't say it too loud.
That's what I came here. I was just like, they're actually from Shanghai. I was like, make it Shanghai style.
The best food, in my opinion, is Chinese in Japan food.
No, really?
Yeah, because then you get the Japanese quality. You don't get to. I've been to China, right?
Curious. Yeah, in China, it's curious. All right. So, you work as a as an ALT when you first got here the first year, or what?
No.
So
I went straight. I came here.
Right
Again,
after
a working
Australia.
holiday visa.
okay,
Before-
what?
Before I could get my spouse visa. So we got married, and then I could get my spouse visa. And so I started straight with the Eikaiwa.
Okay.
Straight. So no ALT. I didn't like the ALT thing either. It was
It was just a way in for me. It was just a way
Sure,
in.
sure.
And a lot of people see.
No disrespect,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just didn't want that for myself.
So you're working at night,
Evening, yeah.
evening. So just tell me about like what was like that first year of like just that schedule: sleep till noon, work at night, and then go knock off
It's
late.
hard, yeah,
I mean, what time you wake up? And
How is this for lunch?
is your wife / girlfriend working at the same time too, and you don't see each other because you're working different hours, or
Yeah, that's right.
no fun.
Well, my wife is a hardworking person, so most of the time we actually come back at the same time, even though I start earlier. Well, now it's a little bit different. I definitely finish after, but Um, yeah, it's just a different way of living, I guess. However, the most difficult part of it is for lunch, because with the Eikaiwa, before doing the Eikaiwa, I was actually doing half and half. I was doing kindergarten and Eikaiwa in the afternoon, so I had the real proper lunch time. But once I started Eikaiwa full time, then that was a mess because lunch is like it's like there's nothing.
There's no lunch.
Yeah.
There is a wolf down your food.
Yeah.
You know, there's no seeing and enjoying. I mean,
I've been eating an apple
uh,
for the past year.
well, I mean
So
that's kind of the same thing with I mean the ALT thing. No, you do get a lunch with the kids, but because it's on the this connects with what we're talking about with with the lunch schedule. It's like 25 minutes. You know, there's no social time. It's like get your lunch out, but because it's getting them ready to be factory workers. Eat your lunch, get back to work. You know, get back to your desk. And as a teacher too, I'm at a high school now, and we get to take our lunch break. You know, whenever we have an hour, but then that means it's like, oh, this isn't my prep time, or what I see is like other teachers, they take their lunch like at their desk and they bring their bento. And I'm just like, that's why it's like that's just one of the things, just life wise, is by having my own school and everything. It's just a thing like it's not money, it's free. But it's like I'm in the wrong culture, but it's like, I want to enjoy my lunch, man. Like I want to have an hour lunch. I mean, I want it to be a social thing too. I want to.
if you think in the future, like 10 years ahead, when you're gonna be older, you don't have any lunch yet, man, that stinks.
Yeah. And just watching like these other teachers are used to it. They're eating at their desk and they don't even take their full hour because they're used to being conditioned of like wolfing down their food. 15 minutes, 25 minutes, and hi. 美味しい。美味しい。
谢谢。
But just that the whole idea of just like this is sad, man. I don't want to spend the next like 20 years like sitting at my desk and just like eating this lunch very quickly so that I can get ready to go teach the next class in a lecture form in a way to these kids who are zombies, as I call it, because the educational system has made
different. It's different.
It
works. In Korea they have the best math in.
Oh yeah.
It works, but it's just not for this time. That's what I perceive.
So then you do the Eikaiwa thing, and then what'd you learn from there? What'd you take away, good and bad, that got to this point now?
Learn from there. It's a really tough question. What kind of answer are you looking for? I'm not too sure.
Not looking at it. It's just I guess just tell the story your experience of what'd you
Except that I basically lived in Japan. That's what I learned. I learned about Japan. That's because work of course was something, but on the side, that's what's most amazing about it. You get to live in Japan. You get to experience the foreign culture. You get to travel to more and more places. You get to understand. My perspective of life and things, just basic things in general, completely changed.
such as
okay, I'm not sure if I should say this on a podcast because this is just breaking.
No, man, anything goes on my
You can time travel by traveling.
I hear you. Yeah, I get that.
Some people say, oh, in the future you can time travel. No, you can time travel now. It's a very different culture. America is like 20. Yeah, I like that.
You like this stuff?
Yeah. In Japan is 20, 50 years behind, depending on, you can definitely see. My parents were a generation older than they are supposed to. Like my father is 60.
You mean when they had you?
Now my when they had me,
How
my mother's 62, my father's 70, 70. So
that was a good one time.
so they're a generation ahead. But that's exactly how they live here. They're my parents here. Technology is there, but the mentality hasn't evolved. So yeah, we can time travel. So that's my
Well,
opinion,
no, I mean,
anyways.
I get the same thing. I mean, especially you want to temper come to where I live in Kumamoto. It's I've had in California. You know, I had friends from.
We're back.
No, we're back. I don't know.
We're back.
We have 30 minutes. I mean, that's who knows?
All right. So I was talking about the my position to move forward with the future. So to move forward with the future of my own having my own space. So I got into this position where I wanted to go out. I really didn't have much of a choice, but I really wished that I had this opportunity to give my own voice and to change things and to make some effort to change things.
What things do you want to change specifically, like in teaching and learning activities?
I got the news that we were going to go with a different system that was going to work with the Aiken.
Well,
So
teaching the test.
teaching the tests, I'm totally against that.
Yeah, me too.
Why tests? It's for work, but in the future, or even in the end, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you know what the answer is for this or that. No, it doesn't, because when you go in America, you speak English, and English is not just a
Well,
word.
like around the world, because I can go to China and speak English.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. If you go to America, it's one. If you go to India, it's another.
Yeah.
Because if you speak English, you need to learn about the culture.
Mhm.
If you don't know the culture, it's useless. It's pointless. It's like you learn half of the studies that you were supposed to go through. And if you go to India, you have to experience that again. You have to go through another kind of culture. So even if you learn English, yes, it's a foundation, but it's useless. It's like training one leg and trying to run. You can't sprint on one leg. So that's the foundation, my true understanding of how to make English the best language or the best to learn. And then I moved from that idea even farther, thinking about the future, about computers, about technology, knowing that the government is going to have some deregulation of the Aiken test, and yeah, I came with all this thinking as well. I had to make up my mind as well because I wasn't sure if I was going to start my own business or if I was going to continue
another
looking,
job.
get another job and then quit and then try to look for another one. But it wouldn't.
But you would
I wasn't sure.
the same systematic pressure would happen again eventually in a different way, in a different style, but it would happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was totally dissatisfied with that, and that's why I started.
Well, I mean, I'm in the same. I mean, I'm in the same, going from like one education system in America to a different one here. And it was a whole learning process for me, trying to understand like, the culture and the culture through also the education system. Like the first year I was here as an AOT was from an American. It was like, oh wow, it was like, oh, this is great. I'm just an assistant. I don't make tests. I don't grade tests. I'm there just to perform and bring out the beauty of English. And it was the first year like honeymoon period, and I was like, wow, everyone here is so disciplined. They're quiet. They don't talk back because it's just the opposite, of behavior problems and from an American point of
Actually,
view.
I think you're very lucky.
No.
Kids are kids.
No. I mean, I've had problems with like Japanese classes too, but I'm just saying the initial first year. It was just, it's just so they're so passive, compared to American kids or Western kids,
Right.
and everything. Of course, there are exceptions. I had a couple like wild, crazy junior high classes. I call them especially was like kids that were born in 2000. I call them like the millennial.
In Japan?
Yeah, in Japan, in Japan, because that's what I experienced. And they're also it was a trend I noticed in all the junior high schools. Like, it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, there was a change.
But there was definitely a big bump in population. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but like there were more kids that have been born in 2000, and I was kind of like, why is that? Because it's 2000. I'm sure all these people were like, it was the turn of the millennium, and people were like, let's have a bunch of kids in the 2000 year.
Did you know there was a change in education as well?
Oh yeah. But that was like everyone had a super wild class at all these different junior high schools. Like, everyone had stories. I mean, I had one like they broke stuff and they didn't care. There would be a demonstration lesson with like 3 principals, from different schools watching, and these kids were straight up like talk back to the teacher in Japanese, just disrupt the class. Everyone's like, man, even my American students, like, these kids are wild, But anyway, that's just but that kind of thing where it was just a different educational value system. It took me 3 or 4 years to like analyze it and read history and learn about the Japanese education system and ask lots of questions, probably annoying my JTs. Like, did you guys read books? That kind of thing. It's like, why do you do this? And everything, and learning about the history of English education in Japan to realize that, that's why they do it this way. Like, that's why there's this method, and it's going to take a long time because of the values of the culture to not change it. Because the system, did work for a certain generation. 20, 30 years ago. They're the ones that are the teachers that are in power now, kind of thing. But then eventually, you get worn down. I'm using technology. I'm showing the teachers of how to use technology, PowerPoints, stuff that I think is just simple. That's simple. And they just look at me like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is like magic. And I'm like, no, it's just I'm just making a PowerPoint. Or it's like when I started using Skype so that they could interact with other kids. And it's like, no, let's use this English. We don't have to wait for a turn of these kids to come. We can connect. And I'll start with just talk with my family, my friends. And then I got in Skype in the classroom and meeting other teachers, doing pen paling. But first it was just like, great, I get to introduce these things, show them. But then I noticed it's like, oh, if I don't do it, the teacher isn't going to take the next step of owning that new tool, owning this new technique, and then doing it themselves. They're just going to lecture. And, it wore me down. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to open my own thing. I can do my own thing, and I don't have to explain why, or even when I would try to implement these, the Japanese norm, like, it's too difficult. And I go, no, it's not. I've done this. I've done this with my private school students. I know it's not like an innate Japanese thing. They just have to be taught and allowed the time to do it. And also the biggest thing is to struggle and fail. With anything like computer literacy. So my kids are really adept now at using the computers, but that's to learn. To use Quizlet, to use Starfall, to use typing. Stuff that's free and available. But it took probably like 6 months to really get them a master of the interface, of using the mouse and how the mouse works, navigating. When you click this is what happens. When you double click, this is what happens. Doing things like just type your search in the address bar. It's already got Google connected to it, or just type your address in directly. You already know the address. I found like Japanese adults, high school students, they're used to just going to Yahoo, that Yahoo search, and it's like, wait a minute, you already have the address. Why are you typing the address search into the search box? Just go to the home address box. So, that's just it. Is like when we talking about being behind. I think it's like I can't remember the statistic, but it's like really more than half of like Gems don't even have internet or a home computer. Because they had K-Tide, they had other technology which did the same kind of thing more or less. But that was the thing that shocked them. Like, oh, Japan's like the future. You think everyone's going to be using computers? Like, no, they don't really learn computers until high school. In a meaningful way. They do have like, okay, in junior high school, maybe twice a month they'll go to the computer lab, which is nice. But then, again,
Your lab. Wow.
A computer.
It's so old-fashioned for me.
Yeah, yeah. When I'd explain it, it's like no, like computers are in the classroom. They're part of the process in America. It's just like a pencil, and everything, and they just couldn't imagine it. And so that's what I've been doing in my class, is using it as an integral part of the classroom. Of like my kids know how to use Google Translate and how to look it up,
Yeah.
on the computer or on a tablet. Because we've been pushing them of just like go do it, go type this in, and everything, and they automatically know how to do that now. I just have to like tell them because I think they're just used to teachers being the vessel of knowledge. What is this in Japanese? And then the teacher tells them, and then they write it down. Basically, teacher, tell me what's the answer, and we have to tell our parents like we value the struggle for them because that's how they really learn. If you just spoon feed them an answer, they're not going to remember it. But if we show them the process of using a dictionary, of using searches, of finding, then they have that skill to do all the time. But I get it. It's tough for. I understand why it's like such a why they see it's difficult. It can't be done because they were never taught that way. They didn't grow up with that kind of. They're a product of their own education system. So if they never learned in any way that's not of their own culture, then it basically doesn't exist. It seems like really like impossible thing when it's like, no, this is being done by elementary kids in Norway. Whatever that thing is, whatever that type of style of learning is, But yeah. So on the one hand, it's like I realize myself as a school owner and as an educator, I don't have to just teach the kids, but I have to educate the parents and explain to them because they're part of their own education system and explain to them like that's where I have some clout because I was a teacher in my home country, licensed teacher. So it's like, oh yeah, he's a real teacher, and everything. So he's not just just any typical native speaking guy, whatever, everything. So I get a little,
The gaijin.
But even then, it's like it's hard to convince the other teachers because it's such a foreign idea for them to use the.
Well, even they were trained in that method, so
Yeah, and that's
they have those old perspectives.
Yeah. So my hats off to you is I'm just saying is like definitely in the beginning, a lot of money's going out. You don't have enough, revenue from kids and customers. But if you know your vision, and if you can articulate your vision in Japanese too, is the thing. Get someone who's a good writer to explain your, educational mission, vision, what you believe in. Like on our website, like I came up with like, why is Japanese important besides the test stuff, and we're breaking down. It's like it gets down to is like that. I'm trying to develop with by things by pen paling through Skype, pen paling, video messaging using Skype. For me, the key to usually I ask them like how do I get them motivated? How do I get them motivated to really learn English? It's like I said, one of my things, the key is help nurture strong interpersonal relations with basically make it so I go because I came here as like an English teacher. I'm not English. I'm a relationship builder. I'm a cultural bridge. I really feel it's like if I can have my students feel a connection to a friend who's English speaking in another country, that is their one. Because I remember when I did a Skype one of the first times, like 8 years ago. What really hit me was when I had a Korean junior high school class, second language learners like that. Um, and one of my junior high school classes, connect live, and they asked you questions. Now, of course, the Japanese kids are all shy, so I wrote all the questions on the board. We practiced them as a group, and I systematically get in line. Next, read it. Next, read it. I mean, not, it's just a robotic exercise. Well, but it really hit was when one of my students asked the girls, like, oh, what music do you like? K-pop. What K-pop do you like? And the Korean girl was like, oh, I like Shoujo, like Girls' Generation. The Japanese girl was like shocked that like they liked the same entertainment, they liked the same music, and they could communicate with English doing that. And then just like, well, who's your favorite member? And it's like, oh, this member. They like the same member. What's your favorite song? They like the same song. And they spontaneously, on their own, started to sing the song. In Japanese, of course. These are Japanese versions. And then the Korean girl, taught her the verses in Korean and everything. And so it was in that moment of like real authentic, meaningful exchange that English initiated in, a small kind of BS way. Like, here's your questions. Just read it. Just read it. You don't have to mean it. You don't have to understand it. Just read it. The Korean student could understand it more, but it had this moment where I know in that Japanese girl in that small town, she's just like, oh, I have a common connection with a friend, in Korea, and that's happened, not all the time, but it happens enough when these authentic, connections, cross-cultural connections happen because of using English as the learning medium, but the technology, Skype, to do it really makes it meaningful, for them. I've had two of my high school students actually go to Korea and meet their pen pal counterparts that they met on Skype. These are high school, so they have more freedom. And one of Mr. Lee, shout out here to Mr. Lee, Jinte Lee, he and I have been collaborating in the last 3 years using Skype between our Japanese students and his Korean class. And I never mentioned, but like 2 years ago, I actually went to Korea and stayed at his house with his family and my kids too, and met those kids in his class live. And then like last summer, his family came to Fukuoka and spent a few days and toured around with them. And one of his daughters is going to go to school for baking in Tokyo. But that's what I mean is like this technology, and just by doing this authentic thing, I didn't think it was going to be like, oh, I'm going to meet, my collaborator in real life, but like it's happened, like, I mean, and that's where I was like, that's where I try to, like, I told the parents, besides the test, and for my kids, it's like, at the end of the day, you pass the test, but you don't pass it, you have the skill, you can, I say it's going to change your life, because you can make friends, you can have friendships, you can make memories, you can have experiences. I explain to them, it's like, if you're only monolingual, you're only going to have, like, one life. There's a Czech proverb, like, for every language you learn, you grow a new soul. So it's like, I tell my Japanese, you can be twice as happy, because you can be Japanese happy, and you can be English happy, too. But, like, as you said, it's like, English is just one part of it. There's a whole, when you say English, there's tons of cultures that are different that speak English. So it's like, you open up a whole other world of happiness and experience and friendships that, I'm sorry, your monolingual friends, Americans too, Americans say, or any monolingual, culture, too, are just not going to have. And, most of my kids, and the parents too, they're just like, whatever. What is he talking about? What is the wife talking? I mean, it's just too much. Because I'm looking at like the whole life aspect of it, not just like the test part of it and everything. But luckily I've got a 7. Oh, are you going
No worries.
time?
No,
I mean,
I'm okay.
but anyway, that's where my motivations are with that stuff. Is like these life experiences by studying another language. That's what I'm trying to get from my students, my parents, and it's tough in a small town, And I tell them it's like, hey, don't get the test scores too with our methodology, but I'm not focusing on the test. I'm focusing on the skills and the motivations for the real experiences. Like one of my students, she got a gift, a Christmas gift from one of her pen pals. I didn't tell pen pal to do it, but I'm sure for her, she's like, in a small town, I got a Harry Potter book in English. She's gonna read that book because it's really hard for her. But she's gonna read it because it was given to her by her American friend, kind of thing. So anyway, any questions or anything I can help you with your school? I remember we talked about
Well, it's going well actually at my school. I've got 40 students now, so I'm quite happy with it. Actually, my goal was to reach 40 students, and then I was going to have to reconfigure the model I wanted to bring in on. So I've reached that, and so
what next?
what's next? Yeah, I have to figure this out. So I have to bring the model to the next step. The first step was just getting a school, and once I get that,
what do you want to do with your model? I mean, like, what is it? Like, what's your challenge you're trying to get around this year?
This year is going to be, actually, I implemented the course I had. I really got a split, so I have 2 courses.
Whatever.
So one is directed towards the regular Eikaiwa kind of model. So older students that are joining in, they're going to follow that course. But the newer ones, so the ones that are joining since the youngest are 2 years old, so the youngest ones are going to go into that course. So I'm going to start building that. And at some point, I'm going to drop off the old Eikaiwa. Once I have enough revenue.
Kind of
fading away. Yeah. So yeah, that's the new course I want to build. I'm aiming at 1 full year, so that's the challenge. I've been only 4 months.
Yeah.
So I gotta.
So next spring during this time, when it's the new school year about to start, then we can talk more about instead of like, what do you want to do? How did it go? And you can tell me what you learned, what didn't work, and why.
Because I made some mistakes. For example, I tried to be open as long as possible. So during Christmas and New Year, I was gonna be open, but actually no one came. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a break next year.
Give yourself a break. Yeah. It's all learning process.
Yeah, and I'm learning some other things. I experienced a trial lesson, for example. I know what I got to do with these people. I got to send them the other way, the Aiken way. So.
Cool. Well, I wish you the best luck for the new year, and I can't wait to hear more how things progress, so we can, see what you've learned, and I can learn from it too. And what's the name of your school? And where's it located? Let's do a little bit of advertising too. And you have
actually a very easy name. It's Kevin or K. K's Kids.
Okay. And you're located where?
I'm working in Shiga in the city of Yasu.
Okay. You have a website or web address or anything?
Yeah, I do. It's kskidseikaiwa .business.site.
Wow. K's Kids Eikaiwa .business.site. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for having dinner with me and getting to know what's driving you, what drove you here, and thank you for coming on my podcast.
Thank you very much. Anytime.
Okay.